Hello mappers and welcome to episode 4 of Ultimate Feature of the World. In this video, we will start out by focusing on the war between India and Pakistan that we started in the last episode. This war has been going on for quite some time now, with India and Pakistan only making very small gains, with India making some small gains in Kashmir and Pakistan making small gains in other places. Pakistan will make some pushes into Kashmir to try and counteract the Indian push in the north. India will have to pull some divisions from this area to push back this part right here, allowing Pakistan to push back in the north. Turkey and Saudi Arabia diplomatically support Pakistan, and Mozambique, which has recently transformed into an anti-Islamic nationalist government, supports India. The US and China are staying very silent about this conflict, without neither expressing any favor for either side. The US specifically has made very little effort in trying to create peace or intervene, and the world wonders why America has gone so isolationist in recent years. Eventually, both sides of the war see that the war will not progress any further, and neither side is going to make any substantial gains. So both sides sit down for peace talks. And the peace treaty will look like this. Some border swaps are made in the Kashmir area, with the borders originally looking like this, but changing to this. In recent years, the three nations of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have been working on improving relations with each other to combat the terrorist forces in all of their nations. However, now they will officially recognize their alliance with each other and create the Sahel Alliance. This alliance is more of a defensive alliance, as none of these countries are particularly expansionist. Their main goal is just to fight terrorism. The next newly formed alliance is going to be the Nordic Alliance. Alone, the Nords are weak, but together they are a very strong alliance. So Norway, Sweden, and Denmark will all join a mutually assisting alliance. The last new alliance being formed is the Caribbean Economic Alliance. The nations of the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and then a few of these smaller island nations that I don't exactly know the name of will all join together in a mutually assisting economic alliance. This alliance does not bind a country to any military aspects, only to economic deals and mutual cooperation. This alliance only is for the economic cooperation of these countries to work together well and for prospering of all the nations. All the nations in the Caribbean except for Cuba and Haiti will join. The other nations, such as Puerto Rico, which is owned by the US, and then these islands that are owned by France, will not join due to them being foreign powers unrelated to the Caribbean. Haiti is still a very corrupt and collapsed nation, and Cuba is also corrupt and collapsed, so neither nation will be joining. Next up, we will be looking at Europe. The nation of Poland is a very nationalistic nation. Poland has been pushed around since the beginning of time, and they are tired of doing so. With the collapse of NATO and the rise of nationalism, Poland can finally create its dreams of becoming a major power and not just a nation being kicked around. Poland will immediately declare war on Belarus to liberate the minorities of Poles in Belarus. Polish are a very oppressed people in Belarus, and the Poles want to liberate them in the name of nationalism and under the idea that the Poles are the best race and they deserve only the best. Belarus is not a weak country, but Polish forces are much stronger, as Poland has been gearing up for quite a long time. Polish forces will move fairly deep into Belarus, and nothing Belarus can do will stop it. The Poles will make a substantial push into Belarus, and a small cutoff is attempted to be made by the Belarusian forces, but it will be pushed back by the Poles. The spearhead will wrap around, and the Belarusian forces see that they are trying to be encircled and will make their way out. Polish forces complete this encirclement, but due to there being no more troops, the borders quickly fill in and this pocket is closed. No one comes to help Belarus, as Belarus does not have any close allies anymore. Russia is now a collapsed country and cannot help a foreign nation such as Belarus in a war such as this. Polish forces will continue to push into Belarus, wrapping around the Ukrainian border and pushing further and further into Belarus. Belarus tries and sits down to peace talks, but Poland demands the restoration of their World War II borders in Belarus, which extends up to about right approximately here. Belarus says they'd never accept such a thing and continues to fight, but Poland continues to push into Belarus, and it seems like they are never going to be stopped. As Belarusian forces begin to tire, the speed of the Polish offensive begins to pick up. Further territories are seized by the Polish army, and Belarusian cities that do not comply with the occupation are burnt to the ground. The UN condemns this, but the UN has very little say in foreign affairs anymore. To most countries, they see the UN as just a silly little community of nations that don't have any real say in the affair of world orders. Polish forces will wrap around the Lithuanian border and push further into Belarus. From this, they will make a spearhead to Minsk, trying to finally capitulate the Belarusian government. Further pushes will be made, and the final amounts of Belarusian forces will try and cut off the spearhead, almost cutting it off. However, the Belarusians run out of steam, and the Poles are able to cut these off, similar to the Battle of the Bulge during World War II made by Germany, and these final divisions of Belarus will be cut off. Polish forces will finally reach Minsk and destroy the city, and will continue pushing deeper and deeper into Belarus. With Minsk captured and almost half the territory lost, Belarus finally agrees to a peace deal. And the Polish borders will look like this. Poland will seize the pre-World War II borders of their Belarusian-owned lands. Borders may not look the best, but this is what the Polish people want. The worldwide opinion on this war is very heavily mixed. Romania denounces this, but nations such as Hungary and Italy support it. Ukraine would support this, but they are afraid that with the Polish movement into Belarus, they may also make similar movements into Ukraine, which Ukraine desperately hopes that Poland does not too. Ukraine is not sure if they can hold off the Polish offensive due to them still rebuilding after the Russian war. Next up, we will look over into Venezuela. Venezuela has a claim on the nation of Guyana, and with a dwindling international community willing to stop nations from invading their neighbors, Venezuela decides to begin an invasion into Guyana. Venezuela begins pushing along the borders and making gains into Guyana. The push is slow because of the rainforest that the nation sits in, but the progress is definitely substantial. Most of this Venezuelan push will be made on the coast where the rainforest is slightly less dense. The capital of Guyana, Georgetown, is right about here, and the Guyanans are doing all they can to stop the Venezuelans from reaching their capital. So much effort is being pushed into Venezuela on here that they manage to push them back, but they lose the foothold in the rest of the rainforest of the country, and Venezuela is able to push quite far into the rainforests of Guyana. So far, in fact, that many important natural resource sites fueling the Guyanan military are lost. Guyana sends a message to Suriname saying that if you help us, we will give you the territory right here that you believe is yours. Suriname accepts and annexes the territory right here. Suriname will officially annex this territory of Guyana and will help Guyana push back Venezuela. The Suriname forces do make some small push efforts into stopping the Venezuelan forces, but the pushback from Suriname and Guyana is still very small. And Venezuela is still making major gains around the south, especially pushing along the border of Brazil and further into the rainforest. The Suriname forces do not do much help against the Venezuelan push into Guyana because Venezuela is still able to push quite far. In fact, Guyana feels like Suriname could be sending more forces than they actually are, and divisions will appear and leave at random without informing the Guyanan military. Guyana is confused by this, but they don't have any time or energy for a confrontation because they don't want to risk losing their ally. However, as the Venezuelan forces approach Georgetown, Suriname flips the switch. Suriname declares war on Guyana and backstabs Guyana. Suriname begins their own push into Guyana, and the nation quickly begins to fall. The Suriname forces that were left in Guyana turn on the people they were standing next to, and Guyana quickly begins to crumble. Venezuelan forces will seize the capital and meet up with the Suriname forces on the other side of the coast. From this, Guyana will surrender, and the peace deal will look something like this. The borders will look like this. Venezuela and Suriname will split Guyana. Guyana is wiped off the face of the world and is no longer a country. Again, the world leaders in the UN condemn this action because they see this betrayal as a violation of international law. However, what realistically is the UN going to do about it anymore? The UN is a collective of nations stuck in old times, and they are all nations that need to, as the new nationalist countries say, get with the times and mind their own business. And that's where we'll leave it off for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking to the end of this video. I'm really excited how this one came out, and I'm super excited even more for the next one. It's going to be a really exciting video.